Good evening. The time is 6:30, and a quorum of the Conservation Commission being present, I hereby call this meeting to order. All right, we have a new member, Stephen Gov, and you're going to recuse yourself from all voting. All voting
Correct.
for today or
Correct.
tonight, and then hopefully you'll be up to speed for the next meeting on February 2nd. All right. So we have a few minutes that we can approve if everybody has read them and agreed with them. Any questions or comments on the meeting minutes?
Okay, so we don't have all the minutes, right, that are
No,
posted?
it's just three.
Just the three, okay.
December 1st, October 6th, and September 15th.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting for December 1st.
You just want to do them all as one motion? Or
We really should do them separately.
if you want, yeah, that's fine.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, chair votes aye as well. Can I have a motion? That was December 1st?
That's December.
Yeah, December 1st?
Yep, December 1st.
All right.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes for October 6, 2021.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well.
And I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of September 15th, 2021.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you. All right. And then we have emergency certification, Paul and Susan Rice, 50 Dalton Road, Assessors Map 30, Lot 6. Is there anybody here for that, or would you like to speak?
Yeah, I can speak to that. It's a emergency certification was issued subsequent to a failed Title V assessment for their septic system. That was issued by, the Tewksbury Health Department issued a order for them to tie into town sewer. That way I could issue the emergency certification following that. The conditions for the emergency certification are just to establish a straw wattle or silt fence, and then have me inspect the straw wattle or silt fence prior to construction happening.
Okay. And this is the one where they've filed an IDA to hook up to the town water, correct?
Yes, so that they are also trying to hook up to town water, but the emergency certification is limited to just abating the emergency itself, so that is being treated, the water connection is being treated under an RDA.
Any questions or comments from the commission?
This is pretty standard, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion to, what do we have to ratify? Approve the emergency certification for Paul and Susan Rice, 50 Dalton Street, Assessors Map 30, Lot 6.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. All right. Agenda item B, public hearing. This is the restoration plan, Hancock Associates of Marlborough, Massachusetts, 1022 South Street, Assessors Map 109, Lot 4.
Hi.
Hi. Could you introduce yourself for the record?
Yes, absolutely. For the public record, my name is David Cowell. I'm a senior wetland scientist with Hancock Associates here on behalf of the property owner, Yasser Youssef. Forgive me. Forgive me again. So this is a continued public hearing on an enforcement order. We had produced the restoration plan, which I believe was largely approved as of not your last hearing in December, but the one prior to that. The only reason I continued the public hearing was to engage my client to ensure that he was okay with everything that had been proposed. Overall, he accepts the conditions of the plan. His one light grievance was the request to move a shed that he had on the property. I had to take a photograph just so you can sort of illustrate what state this could have in. I don't know if it might be picked up from some of the site photos that. I'll get 5 of these. I'll share.
Give it to the commissioner.
We get a vote, so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I understand you're abstaining. Welcome to the commission.
Thanks.
His slight grievance here is that the shed has, it's been there for a very long time. It was there when he purchased the property. I don't know definitively whether or not it was existing non-conforming prior to enactment of the bylaw, because we don't have a prior as-built plan that details it. If you do look at aerial imagery on Google Earth, as far as satellite imagery is still resolute, back to like 1997, you can see that the shed has been there. His concern is that the shed is not in very good condition, that any effort to relocate it would effectively just, render it destroyed. He would, I don't think he has an opportunity. He doesn't have space to relocate it, and any effort to relocate this would just destroy it. He would just lose the shed if it were mandated. So it's located in an area where, in our restoration plan, the area in front of it is an area that was manicured lawn that will be returned to lawn, and it's just off photograph there to the right is where the restoration would actually begin, where we have our native plantings and wetland restoration for where the fill was put in.
All right. Any questions or comments from the commission?
I have none.
And
I just want to reiterate some of the points that were made when we discussed this first.
Yes, yep.
I think one of the conditions that we had discussed was the monitoring plan, which I think we were all in agreement with, as far as the applicant being held responsible for that the restoration plan is effective over time, that they should be monitored over the course of each growing season until at least 75% vegetative growth is achieved.
Yep, we agree to that. Yeah, that's fairly standard in restoration plans prior to issuance of a return to compliance in this matter.
Okay. Yeah, so that'll just have to be achieved before the certificate of compliance is issued.
Yep.
And then I think we discussed the establishment of like markers where the wetland boundary is.
Yeah, I asked him about that to see what he could do. He said that what would be most cost effective for him is taking some of the wetland shrubs that we have in our wetland restoration spec and planting them at 6 foot off centers along the edge of his lawn as it approaches the restoration area. And that shrub row would serve as monumentation where, every time he mows his lawn, he doesn't go a foot further in and a foot further in, that it would be monumented by a shrub row at 5 or 6 foot off centers along that line,
Okay.
if that's amenable to you guys.
Makes sense to me.
All right. Other than that, I think we discussed maybe that the dirt piles would be removed also that are within the buffer zone, but I think that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, all the dirt piles still constitute fill that he had brought in that needs to come out volumetrically. Just to report to the commission, I actually had a very similar enforcement order to this in Beverly, and just recently, it was the same situation where we didn't have existing grades of topography on a plan, so the removal of fill needed to be witnessed by a soil scientist, and that actually went fairly well. I was out there, I actually had the Beverly Conservation Agent, Mass DEP was involved and had a peek at this as well, and I worked with the contractor removing the fill until he hit parent soil material beneath it, and volumetric got the fill out there. So in terms of seasonal time of year, this was only a week or two ago. When they removed the fill, it was wonderful, and then we had a hard frost. I went back to look at, verify the extent of hydric soils, and just over the course of 2 days, it was too difficult for me to get a Dutch auger on the ground. So I know he wants to get this done sooner rather than later, but I think that it makes sense to just wait for, either a warm spell, whether or not that is going to happen in January, February, or wait until some thaws in March to do it. But I think with frozen ground, it's definitely more challenging than it is with soft ground.
Yeah, I think I would also ask to coordinate with me once restoration efforts begin.
Yeah, yeah.
Just
No, I
so-
think it makes sense to have you on site once they get an excavator out there. In the case in Beverly, we actually did have a veteran operator. It's a little scary when you have a 20-year-old guy behind anybody can dig a hole, but it really takes a seasoned operator to use a fine tooth to scratch that back without
Yep.
going too deep. So I had a good operator to work with. But it makes sense to have you visit during the exercise.
Yeah.
Sure.
Other than that, I have no questions or comments.
All right. And then planting season and seeding would be as seasonally appropriate, maybe mid-April.
Okay.
I think my only question is, I've never done a restoration plan motion. Is it just approving it?
It's approving the restoration plan, and they got to follow that plan before they can get a certificate of compliance.
Right. Yep. And I agree, as Joe implied, normally, maybe two full growing seasons of monitoring to ensure that, typically we consider 75 to 80% uniform vegetative ground cover to be stabilized, and then any of the nursery stock plants should still be alive in the course of 2 years. I mean, if one or two of them die, then I don't think that makes a big deal, but if a lot of them die, then we need to reconsider, replanting and revisiting it. But we can provide monitoring reports, over the course of those 2 years, once annually, and demonstrate what's going on out there.
And sorry, last thing was an as-built survey once it's complete.
Yes, yep. We'll do that as well. Yep, especially, because the entire property is 100-year floodplain, we want to have those grades monumented on a plan of
Yeah.
record. If, forbid, maybe not this property, or if anything goes on out there again, we'll have a documented file of where the grades are.
Sure.
All right, anything else from any commission members? All right, this is a public hearing, but I'll open it up to the public, but there's nobody here, so
Hearing crickets.
could I have a motion to close the public hearing for this
So
restoration
moved.
plan? Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. All right, could I have a motion to approve this restoration plan?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll let my applicant know that if it's okay, we'll acquiesce to all the other restoration. We'll get it done.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Be well.
All right. And these next two are being continued. So there's no update, there's just continuing to the next meeting.
So for Bayberry Lane, I believe the update is that they want to change the water bypass.
Oh, yeah, all right.
So they just have to come up with a new strategy to get the water across during construction.
All right.
And then for Pringle Street, I just had a question on how they established a 100-year floodplain, and they're trying to get back to me on that.
All right.
For the Bayberry one, if they continue this is the third time. What's the rule about 3 times continuing? Or is it 3 times in a row?
It's 3 times in a row, it's not
Okay.
3 times total.
Yep. Just want to make sure.
Yeah.
When he was here the last time, wasn't he?
I think I got
Somebody
confused,
was here.
yeah.
Well, the town secretary, so yeah, Kevin was here.
Well, Kevin was here.
Oh, yeah, okay.
All right. So can I have a motion to continue the notice of intent for the culvert replacement project, DP file number 3051147, to the next meeting on February 2nd, 2022?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. And so for D, can I have a motion to continue the notice of intent VHB on behalf of Tewksbury Department of Public Works DEP file number 3051143 to the next meeting on February 2nd, 2022.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. All right, and agenda item E, Wetlands Protection Fund.
Yeah, so there's two classes, again, through UNH that I think would benefit myself and my day-to-day functions as a conservation agent, determining wetland boundaries, just always trying to improve my skill set on that. So these two courses are just evaluating wetland systems in general, and identifying hydric soils, which is a key element in determining wetland boundaries. So $249 a pop for two classes. So
49?
yep.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve $500 for these courses.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. All right. Just for the record, we appreciate you taking all these courses to be that much better at your job.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the approvals.
All right, and old business. Anybody have any old business?
None.
Is this, I guess, is the new business sort of part of the old business?
Semantics, I guess,
All
but
right.
yeah, new business. So, hold on, let me go. Okay. Yes, so, there was sewer maintenance. That was an exempt activity. Not sure if we discussed it or not, but it's just, the town is trying to inspect several sewer manholes that are located in wetland areas. All they have to do is get to them and pop open the manholes just to do a visual inspection. I just made sure that their best management practices throughout was adequate, using straw wattle or just stabilizing soils if any soil is disturbed, but they don't anticipate to have any soil disturbance. I think they're going to use like an all-terrain vehicle to get out there, but other than that, there's no disturbance.
Yeah, this is a public utility, I think. Well, they put it in, they got to repair it or replace it or maintain it, so I don't have an issue with it.
It's minimal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Popping manholes is nothing.
Yeah, again, that was approved under an exempt activity, so just wanted to bring it to the Conservation Commission's attention.
Of course, if there's a problem, then they'll have to come before us and get a game plan, but, it's-
Yeah,
Well, if it's a sewer and there's a problem, there's an issue, so it would be
Yeah,
an emergency
exactly.
thing that,
and they'd have to come, yeah.
so the Pondview Estates project on the corner of Helvetia and Chandler, they had done a delineation. The workout that they were doing was well outside of the 100-foot buffer zone and outside of Conservation Commission jurisdictional areas. I walked the wetland boundary, and so I guess I just wanted to let the Conservation Commission know, although you might be seeing activity currently happening there, it's all, I'm checking in with the developer, just making sure they're not encroaching within the 100-foot buffer zone. Once a foundation is put in for each house, they're sending me a survey for where the dwelling is relative to the 100-foot buffer zone, just as like a final check as to whether they actually stayed out of the 100-foot buffer zone or not. Anything that I see that is like slight encroachment, I'll check. But if it is encroachment, it would just be tree removal. All the dwellings are way outside of the 100-foot buffer zone, so. But yeah, I guess I just wanted to if
Thank you
guys
for
any-
that update.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for the update on the,
Yeah, a lot of people see those going up and they're just a little worried, and I think rightfully so, that
Yeah.
it did look like that was right next to the pond over there. It's
Yeah.
actually pretty far back.
Yep. And then,
well, the next time you're talking that, you might want to have them move the little Johnny on the spot. Somebody's going to come down Helvetia and somebody's going to be in it and somebody's going to take it out. Somebody in
yeah,
it.
yep. So yeah, the next thing is just a general discussion of how to handle exempt projects. I just want to be able to know exactly how I should be handling my day-to-day stuff, such as building permits, and utility maintenance projects, because those are the two things that fall under exempt status a lot of the times. So I just wanted to have an open discussion with the Conservation Commission and discuss the regulatory aspect of it as well.
Yeah, so Joe, I think me and you have had a couple conversations regarding this.
Yep.
I think the big thing is if it's an emergency, we don't want to delay utility work that is an emergency. But if it's a planned, I would say like water or sewer repair that's gonna go in the next season of construction where they have ample time to bring it to the commission, I think it's a worthwhile, if they're digging within our boundary, within the 100-foot buffer, it's probably worth seeing even if they are exempt to make sure that we can ask appropriate questions. But if it's an emergency, that always is more vital. Public health and safety is always more important than us approving what's going on, as long as they follow best management practices within the wetlands. I also like the idea if there's some projects like this, that you kind of just, the exemption comes through and you approve it, at least you kind of just let us know more as an FYI, I think is not a bad thing for us to be aware of anything going on. That's my take on it.
So that would basically be, not that every single exempt project would have to come before us for approval, just let us be aware of things going on.
I think the big thing is like digging and disturbing soils for extended periods are worthwhile projects if they're not emergency. If National Grid's just doing overhead work, I don't see that as something that's critical for us to know. But exempt projects like this, or something that's close to the boundary that Joe's been aware of, just being FYI, new business, here's the projects, just so you know.
All right, do you agree with, are you okay with providing occasional updates on
Yeah.
those sorts of projects?
Yeah, I think that's a fair approach. So for National Grid, sometimes their utility maintenance stuff, sometimes they need to use their like construction mats or whatever to get through wetland areas. So, and that would still fall under, I believe, the exemption. But with something like that, would you want that to be brought forth to the commission, or?
I would use your best judgment on stuff like that. If it's not going to be endangering the wildlife or wetlands I mean, I'm not sure we can make definitions, digging up that much, disturbing 1 acre, whatever we want to kind of, if we want to make rules like that, or just use the conservation agent's best judgment for exempt projects.
Usually when they're doing anything, they're way ahead of what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And they come before us anyways, but an emergency, you gotta wire it down, they gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, emergency, that way.
Yeah.
Emergency shouldn't, yeah.
Well, I also think a lot of times National Grid is so accustomed to,
Their practices.
their practices, and they know that they're exempt, so they just say, here you go, this is a courtesy thing.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
And I think they've done a good job with
Oh,
the
definitely, yeah.
past.
yeah.
And I think they have to also follow by Mass DEP, so they have them on their back. So, again, if it's an emergency, I would let it go. I would use your best judgment. But if it's a project where they're building something or constructing a new tower or something like that and not maintenance, that's a little different.
And again, they always come before us and they do.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing, they have the consultants that
Yeah,
know
exactly.
what is and
They're under
isn't.
more scrutiny than probably any other utility, so.
Yeah, Okay.
They've had to hire lawyers before, I'm sure.
And so that kind of solves the utility stuff, but for the day-to-day building permit stuff, I'm not sure if the commission's familiar with how that works. So whenever a building permit comes in, I'm the first person to receive it. I 95% of the time do a site visit. If I don't, it's because it's clearly not within a jurisdictional area. And then based off that site visit, I determine if it's exempt or not. Like if they're building a deck, for example, that's 70 feet from a wetland, they're exempt under our bylaw and the WPA, as long as they do a silt fence, straw walls, stuff like that. So I issue an exemption letter stating all that. But that's how I have been doing it. So I guess I just wanted to let the commission know that.
I don't see any problem with that.
The other thing, going back to utilities real quick, do we want to amend the bylaw to include the word sewer?
I think that's, yes, that's definitely what we should do, but we can't just amend the bylaw, it's gonna be reviewed.
Yeah, there's a
so-
process, but I'm not sure how do you start it? Do we need to kind of approve it within the commission before it can go to the next step, or?
That's going, I forget
Well-
exactly. It's gonna be a group effort to do it. So I think the chair will be required, you'll be required. I think anybody else who wants to be, to go to the meetings, I'm not sure if they'd be voting members. I forget exactly.
No, I think we're supposed to appoint somebody to that committee. Like, I'm on the CPA.
All right.
I'm the designee,
Yeah,
and somebody's on the housing, but I think the housing dissolved.
Housing was James.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think that dissolved anyways, but if they still had it, the chairman is supposed to appoint somebody to that committee. This committee you're talking about is not the zoning.
no, it's gonna be similar to that.
It's similar
but-
to that.
Yeah,
But the Conservation Commission, you should designate, or
Yeah.
somebody can volunteer to be on that, It's not like you meet every day.
yeah.
But I think in the Conservation Commission bylaws, that's one of the things that are in there. It's a bylaw committee or something that the Conservation Commission has. I'm not really sure, you can check that out, but I think the Conservation is supposed to have an appointee, the Planning Board's supposed to have an appointee, the Selectmen are supposed to have an appointee, and then there's supposed to be a couple of resident appointees. I'm not really sure, but I think I read that somewhere along the line.
Yeah, so when the committee is formed, I'm not sure if it's an active committee or if it has to be formed and then it will be abolished once, it's, everything has been approved. But, like, either way, they're not meeting right now. Once they start meeting, we'll get the notification saying, Conservation Commission members should be part of this. And that's when we'd review all of the bylaws, or the wetland bylaws.
Right.
For it. And that would be part of it is, adding sewer, plus probably a few other things.
I was gonna say, I think it's part of like amending the word sewer to that exemption would be part of a larger look at our bylaw. If we have the chance to review the entire thing, I think it might be.
Well, I think the committee will do one by one. Okay, what's wrong with this?
So
What do
does
we
anybody
to
have
add
a
to
running
it?
tally of these?
What's that?
Does anybody have a running list of these corrections that you want to do?
Well, they haven't
I
started the
certainly-
committee yet.
Yeah,
I mean, it seems to me, it would just be common sense to get a running, so if you're going to do this process, it's a
Yeah,
one and done.
One-shot deal.
yeah.
yeah. I definitely keep a list of things that I encounter throughout my time so far that have been an issue or not clear. But some of this stuff has been cleared up recently, but just about putting it onto paper.
So we're basically talking correcting verbiage
That
in
too.
most of these
Yeah.
things.
Correcting verbiage, maybe omitting some stuff, including some stuff.
Okay.
that would be set up similar to the zoning rewrite,
Correct.
which like, it would be probably chaired by a selectman, you know, Mr. Sadwick would be there, you'd be there, and there'd be a few, you know, people.
Yeah, I know it's beyond, like, Conservation Commission itself. But, okay, one other question so for, like, a water replacement project, that might be happening the next construction season, when the applicant comes to me with their application, I still wouldn't want them to come for the meeting. I would
Yeah.
just review with everyone.
Unless we find something in
Right,
reviewing
okay.
it that's worthwhile,
Yeah.
having them come, I
Okay.
think it's, yeah.
But a lot, you know, of course, the water and sewer, it's an emergency 9 out of 10 times. So I don't,
I mean, like water main breaks, yeah, but you plan for, you want to replace 2% of your water mains every single year, so how much of that falls within our jurisdiction might be 0.5%, but it's a significant amount or even less. So there is both repairs,
Yeah.
emergency repairs as well as planned activities.
I have full confidence in Joe.
Thank you. All right.
That's,
Don't?
don't get me going.
So, the next thing is 2512 Main Street. Are we all set for maintenance and?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So this is something that wasn't on for new business. I just recently came up. 2512 Main Street. I don't know how to describe the site. It has like a volleyball court in the back.
That's the Hobart's store there?
Yes.
I don't know.
It's, that's the one that we approved. They're supposed to be putting a new building there.
Yeah. So they just came to me and Kevin Hardiman, the town engineer. So I don't know. I guess I can just pass this around. So this is their revisions. I'll pass that down to Dennis.
Have enough copies?
Yeah.
Oh, Joe, you can keep, no, you got enough?
How am I gonna read that thing? I need a magnifying glass.
So all the changes are in the red, and it's just very minor grading changes. So
It's
essentially,
just regrading?
yeah. The most major ones are on the left-hand side, where they wanted to raise up the ground so that they didn't have to use stairs to get out of the building. So this is the original plan that we approved, if you want to compare it to that.
So they're not increasing the size of the building, they're just increasing the grade where the building's gonna sit?
They're just regrading.
So,
So I told them that it seems insignificant enough to, you know, do an amended order of conditions or anything like that. It doesn't change the nature of the project or anything. So, and it's not impacting our resource area,
I don't have any problem with it.
so.
As long as they don't add any more volleyball courts.
right, so they're just bringing up the ground elevation.
Yes.
Oh.
And not by a,
6 inches. and
yeah,
grading
not by a
around that.
significant amount. All right, so it sounds like we're in general agreement that we don't want to have them come back to,
Right.
you know, whatever it's called, I'm blanking. All right,
I only have one more thing, and that is the one down in that area where the old auto parts store is. Can we get an update on that pile of dirt?
It's across the street from,
The donut shop there, well, it's not the donut.
up the repair shop.
yeah.
I can't think of the name.
Yeah, the one with the big time and temperature.
The auto parts, the
Yeah.
auto, right across the street, it used to be Advanced Auto Parts or some
Yeah,
auto
now,
parts
yeah,
store.
yes.
Can we get an update on
Yeah, sure.
what are they doing? I mean, we approved this thing, I think, 2.5 years ago. And all we got is a pile of dirt, 3 piles of dirt. So
Yeah.
we need to get that, because if they come back and they say want an extension, I'm not going to approve an extension unless that dirt's gone. It may clean up, it looks like hell.
So
I said that out loud.
I know I visited the site in the summertime because it was going through a change of ownership, I believe, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
And so I walked the erosion and sediment control line just to make sure before they started anything that was okay. After that conversation, I didn't hear anything back, so I can go through my field notes and maybe give them a call, see if they still are the owners and see what their intentions are, what's holding them up. So,
Yeah, of course, there's no sense of going in there now, but spring's right around the corner, so, you know, get it going.
But we don't want it to be there forever like that.
Yeah.
I mean, if we've gone through all the trouble, because that took well over a year, you know, and then all of a sudden we approved everything, and all of a sudden it's for sale. And the piles of dirt show up, you know. And I think that's one thing we have to consider on every project that is done is you have to have the building permit before you can start stockpiling dirt or whatever it is, because we've had that in numerous places.
So enforcing some sort of timeline.
Well,
Or,
yeah, I mean, this has been a few years now.
Oh,
This
that's
pile of
looked
dirt's been
horrible for years.
there. Yeah. That's all I have.
yeah, so the last thing I have for update is there's a project at 84 Layton Lane. It will be before the Conservation Commission next week if the time frame lines up for the applicant. But just as an update, it was I guess I just wanted to let the Conservation Commission know that there was unpermitted installation of a pool and decks and loom and seed, and part of it is being managed under a violation notice that I recently issued, and part of it is just going to be, I guess, discussed. I don't want to discuss the entire project, but just discussed at the next meeting.
Okay.
And yeah, with that, I think that's it.
And can we put on the agenda for the next meeting the, not reorganization, but we do have to have
Oh, the clerk.
the clerk.
Oh, yeah.
That's it for me.
Anything else?
Oh, I guess one more thing. Sorry.
This is the last one more thing.
So, yeah. So, this is just an example of what I've been receiving for On Street Estates. So they survey in the tree line, which marks the furthest extent of their construction relative to the 100-foot buffer. The one that I handed out, there's that corner that it looks like it encroaches, but I investigated that. It was just an error on the survey. That's actually shrubbery that's in that area. So I have, field notes to back that up. So that actually was not an encroachment. But, yeah, I guess I just wanted to give you guys a sample of what the developers are sending me.
How close to the 100-foot buffer do you make them like re-stake it out? Like if it's within 10 feet, do you say, okay, this isn't, old plans are inaccurate, restake it out to make sure that you're not within the 100 or?
They staked it out, like, when they originally staked it out, they staked it out to 105 feet, and it was surveyed in. So I think that was like the wiggle room.
Safety factor, yeah.
I guess, maybe I should have asked for 110 next time, but.
I was just curious, like, how close it is before you kind of actually, like, scrutinize it or check, or is it?
Yeah, I've gone out there before just to measure from the wetland flags to the survey stakes to ensure it's an actual 100-foot.
Have you got many calls and complaints on that as far as wetland? Meaning, what happens a lot of times is when you take the loom off and it rains out, people think you're in wetlands. And, it happened to me years ago too, but I'm just curious if people are calling in with
I
that.
got one call a few months ago, And I did get a call from, and that call came from DEP, because they got a call.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, you know, they don't understand. You know, when it was all grass, the water was there, but it was soaking in, so.
Yeah, I told.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, I told the exact same story to DEP, and they said, yep, that's fine, blah, blah, blah. One more.
All right.
Where's the hammer?
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. See you on the February 2nd.
We need to sign some